Welcome back to another FPL transfer tips. This time out of Gameweek 33, I'll talk about 10 players to buy, hold, sell and skip. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And there is confirmation of double Gameweek 37, which happened yesterday. And last week we got confirmation of double Gameweek 35. So I'll cover all of that in this video and podcast. Be sure to drop a like if you enjoy it or find it useful. Let's get this over 200 likes overall. And we're also very close towards 23,000 subscribers. Let's be sure to hit that milestone very soon and check out all the other links in the description below for the Patreon, Championships Discord server, the FPL League, Draft Town, and also check out Spotify and Amazon Music. Leave a 5-star review and listen to those podcasts. But without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Liverpool have received some massive boosts with Diogo Jota, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Alisson returning to training, and the return of Jota could spell some trouble for Luis Diaz later down the road, but I think for the next 3 games, over the next 2 game weeks, I think Diaz will start every single one of them because he's in great form. His output is incredible at the moment, and he's also putting in some very good performances, both defensively and offensively. Afterwards, from Gameweek 35 up until the end of the season, you could see Diaz benched in the odd game or so, but Diaz is really a purchase for the short term, and especially a really good one for those wildcarding in Gameweek 35 where you could then sell the Colombian. But for the next 2 game weeks, I can't see many midfielders, if any, that are better than Luis Diaz. I think only Salah and Saka are really ahead of him in the pecking order right now. He has 80 shots for the season, 8 goals, 6 assists and 125 FPL points, and many of those goal contributions have come in 2024. He has been incredible in this calendar year. So for me, Luis Diaz is a buy with only 12% ownership and a price tag of 7.6 million. I think Diaz is a great option for double Gameweek 34. Goalkeepers can be overlooked in FPL, especially in terms of transfers, but if you are looking for a goalkeeper right now, David Raya is the very best one you can go for. With Alisson back in training, I think Kelleher will be benched in at least one of the matches in double Gameweek 34, and that already puts me off, and that's something I discussed in the last couple of videos and podcasts. But David Raya is going to start every single game for Arsenal in the Premier League and Champions League, and you would expect 1, possibly 2 clean sheets over the next 3 games, the way Arsenal are defending in the Premier League. They look quite shaky against Bayern Munich in the Champions League, and David Raya was actually at the heart of that, especially for the first goal, but he's still a very good purchase in FPL. He's priced at 5.1 million. His ownership is still less than 10%, with 12 clean sheets. And remember, David Raya has missed 6 games in this Premier League season. Yeah, he has more clean sheets than any other goalkeeper. He couldn't play against Brentford on both occasions, and it was Ramsdale who started in goal at the beginning of this campaign. He has made 37 saves, which is actually very low, and that's because Arsenal have a great defence in the Premier League this season, and the expected goals conceded figure is 15.75 with 104 FPL points. So David Raya is the best goalkeeper for double Gameweek 34. Other decent options include Neto, Pickford and Kelleher, especially if you can start both games, which I very much doubt. Rayan Aït-Nouri is currently flagged in FPL, and those that had him for Gameweek 32 are very unlucky because he was subbed out just seconds before the 60th minute mark. If he could hold out for a bit more, he would have been able to bank a clean sheet before West Ham inevitably scored 2 goals to win the game. But Aït-Nouri still got an assist in that match by winning a penalty, and he's been playing very advanced in the last couple of games as a winger essentially, and sometimes as a striker. But Gary O'Neill said in his press conference that he's got some pain in his calf, and we wanted to take him off before it got any worse, and hopefully he'll be okay for next week. So he still remains hopeful. Let's see how that situation develops, but if Aït-Nouri is cleared, he is definitely a buy for Gameweek 33 and 34, and he still has a decent fixture in Gameweek 35 against Luton Town at home, and he's not the worst option for a bench boost in double Gameweek 37 against Crystal Palace at home. Some very good fixtures there for Wolves. Only Arsenal and Man City, which look very tough, but I think the double compensates for that, and you've also got some plum fixtures in between. Aït-Nouri has 2 goals and 3 assists for the season, 7 big chances, which is very impressive for a 4.7 million defender who also happens to be a differential. That's 71 FPL points for the season, and I believe he's the best defender to buy for the next 2 game weeks, but also potentially up until Gameweek 37 at that price and below. So for me, Aït-Nouri is an easy buy if the injury doesn't turn out to be serious. Phil Foden scored a wonder goal against Real Madrid and was awarded player of the match, but he was also subbed out due to an injury, and Pep Guardiola said the following: "It was just a knock. He was grumpy with me because I made the substitution," and he went on to say he just got a bad dead leg at the end, time to recover before the next game. And Foden himself said, I hope so. I've got a dead leg. Hopefully I'll be able to recover. Now, will he start against Luton Town? I don't think so, but I would wait and hold on to Foden and wait for maybe some leaks that we could get during the deadline stream. And if he does start, he is a fantastic option for Game Week 33. And he also has a great record against Brighton, particularly at the Amex Stadium in Game Week 34. And afterwards, you'd want Phil Foden for Game Week 37, whether you use the bench boost, if you have the chip, and if you're just playing Game Week 37 with no chips at all. Phil Foden is a great option until the end of the season, and Manchester City have arguably the best fixtures from the so-called big clubs and also the best teams in the Premier League. He's priced at 8.3 million and his ownership is over 36% with 14 goals and 7 assists. He is a firm contender for that Player of the Season award. He has 90 shots as well, which is even higher than Luis Diaz. So Phil Foden is really got an eye for goal this season, and that's why he's close to 200 FPL points. So for me, Phil Foden is a hold. Next up is Heung-min Son, who delivered once again in Game Week 32, but only the assist against Nottingham Forest. Now, if you look at the upcoming fixtures, they are horrendous. It's Newcastle away this week, then it's a blank for Tottenham in Game Week 34. But what makes up for the poor quality of fixtures is the quantity, with 2 double game weeks in Game Week 35 and Game Week 37. And it's worth mentioning that for 2 of the last 3 games that Spurs have for the rest of the season, they face Burnley at home and Sheffield United away, and they also have a decent record against Manchester City in the Premier League, especially at home. So Heung-min Son is definitely worth holding on to. Now, if you are wildcarding in Game Week 35 like myself, it could be worth selling Son in Game Week 33 and obviously for Game Week 34, then you bring him back for that double in Game Week 35. But if you don't have the free hit and you don't have the wild card, and you also have to maybe strike a balance between Game Week 34 and 37, I would highly recommend holding on to Son, who's by far the best Spurs asset. He's priced at 10.1 million. His ownership is also quite template with over 34%, 15 goals and 9 assists for the season, and his XGI is actually very impressive, and Son tends to overperform his XGI, and typically it's actually lower at this stage of the season, and he has 185 FPL points. So if you can do so, I'd hold on to Heung-min Son. But for those wildcarding in Game Week 35, you could sell him for the short term and bring him back for those doubles in Game Week 35 and 37. Malo Gusto didn't start against Sheffield United, and Chelsea ended up drawing that game, and Pochettino clarified the situation straight after the match, and he said Malo had to rest. He was ill before playing 2 games, so he has to rest, and the same goes for Badiashile. But with Malo Gusto, he is a decent option still for the doubles in Game Week 35 and Game Week 37. And for those that aren't aware, of course, you can see the graphics on screen, but we did get confirmation of double Game Week 35 last week, and Chelsea will be facing Aston Villa away and Tottenham at home, while Spurs face Arsenal at home and Chelsea away. And of course, we did get the confirmation of all the doubles in Game Week 37, which has Chelsea doubling against Nottingham Forest away and Brighton away. Spurs will have 2 home fixtures against Burnley and Manchester City. Manchester City will have 2 away games against Fulham and Tottenham in the capital. Manchester United have 2 home matches against Arsenal and Newcastle, whilst Newcastle have Brighton at home and Manchester United away. And finally, Brighton will have Newcastle away and Chelsea at home. And as you can see with Malo Gusto, there are still some decent fixtures sprinkled in between. He's a 4.3 million defender with 10.6% ownership. The FPL points hasn't been great, if I'm being completely honest, but Gusto has that assist threat and also bonus points potential. That's 9 big shots created for the season and 5 assists overall. I think if you have Gusto, he's worth holding on to. He could start against Everton at home, and you've also got him in place for the doubles later this season. It's quite difficult, I think, to get that second or third Chelsea player. I think Palmer is by far the easiest one, but afterwards it becomes quite difficult because the rest of Chelsea's players have been quite poor this season, and from an FPL perspective, a lot of them don't offer that value. But I think Gusto could do so for the remainder of the season, and I'd hold on to the Frenchman until the end. Alphonse Areola picked up an injury against Newcastle a couple of weeks ago, and the latest update we got was from 6 days ago, and David Moyes said he has a tweak to his groin. We hope it's not going to be too long, but we'll have to wait and see. And he's currently ruled out. He's red flagged, and Areola is a sell. And if you are looking to bench boost in Game Week 37, it's worth going for double Game Week goalkeepers if possible. And I wouldn't trust West Ham to keep clean sheets anyway. Over the next 5 game weeks, where do I see a clean sheet? Maybe against Crystal Palace away, or potentially against against Fulham at home, and Areola might not be back by that stage, but I only see one clean sheet maximum over the next 5 game weeks. I very much doubt that West Ham will keep more, whether Areola's in goal or not. His ownership is still very high. He's the highest owned goalkeeper in the game with only a price tag of 4.2 million, and he has been very good for that price tag with over 100 FPL points, but he also has got a lot of those returns in maybe 5 or 6 matches where he got massive hauls, but in the rest he has been very frustrating, and after all he is a budget goalkeeper. But with only 4 clean sheets for the season for Areola, that current injury problem, and so many alternatives with doubles in Gameweek 34 or 37, you just have to look at Raya for Gameweek 34 and also a Nana for the future double. I think it's worth selling Areola if possible. He has made over 110 saves with 11 bonus points, but I think the time has come to sell the Frenchman. Rodrigo Muniz is still a decent budget forward. He has been quite disappointing in the last 2 game weeks, but the main reason why I'm suggesting to sell him is because for the 2 major double game weeks left in this season, in 34 and 37, there are plenty of budget forwards who can offer much better value with superior fixtures, and also with Muniz, he's facing Liverpool at home and Man City at home in those 2 major double game weeks. He's priced at 4.7 million, his ownership is 9.5%, he has 8 goals for the season and 1 assist, his XG is 6.55, and that's 79 FPL points for the campaign. But you could easily sell Muniz to a Mateta or a Cunha for double game week 34, and for the future double in 37, I think you'd ideally go to an Isak, Højlund and Erling Haaland, and there are still plenty of budget forwards like João Pedro potentially who could be much better than Muniz for that specific double game week. Now you look at the other fixtures like West Ham away, Crystal Palace at home and Brentford away, that doesn't seem too shabby, but I think Muniz is a sell if you are able to make that transfer, and if you are looking to bench boost in either game week 34 or 37, every single player of that 50-man squad is very important, and whilst Muniz can score against Liverpool and or Man City, I still don't think the chances are that likely. So I would look to sell Muniz if possible. It might be a luxury transfer, but Mateta or Cunha are better options for the next 2 game weeks. Kevin De Bruyne was going to be in the starting 11 against Real Madrid, but he felt sick, and I think he could start against Luton Town at home. If we do get that information and you have the Belgian, of course, don't sell him ahead of Luton Town. He got 4 assists the last time he played them, and all 4 of those assists were for Erling Haaland, who scored 5 goals. Now, Man City will rotate in this upcoming period, and Luton Town seems like a very good time to do so. Even Arsenal last week actually rotated a lot of key players in preparation for Brighton away and Bayern Munich at home. But De Bruyne, I think, is a skip in the long term because he's not going to start week in, week out. He did very well against Crystal Palace. He was the best player by far with 1 goal and 2 assists, but I just don't think De Bruyne is worth investing at this moment in time. There is a double in Game Week 37, but you'd rather go for Heung-min Son at a similar price tag. And also, if you are bench boosting, you need as many funds as you can get, and going for a De Bruyne could hinder you and prevent you from going for maybe one of Højlund or Isak as part of your front 3. The fixtures are fantastic. De Bruyne, when he starts, is a sensational FPL option on his day, but he has been quite inconsistent this season, even since returning from his injury back in December. That's 3 goals and 6 assists for the campaign, with 12 big chances created, which is very impressive considering the limited matches he has started, and 60 FPL points. But I would only hold on to De Bruyne if we get a leak that he starts against Luton Town. Otherwise, I'd probably just skip him for Game Week 33 and the rest of the season. The 10th and final player covered today is Alexis Mac Allister, who has been in incredible form for both club and country. He has been scoring and assisting at will. He's got a decent double in Game Week 34 and also a good fixture in Game Week 33. And I think if you are looking for a Liverpool midfielder besides Diaz, I think Mac Allister is the next one in line, unless Diogo Jota is ready to start games and maybe get 2 out of 3 starts coming up. But I think Mac Allister is still a decent option at 5.9 million. But if you look at the underlying numbers, they are horrendous. And at a similar price, you could go for Michael Olise, who is now back, or Eze. I think they're better options for double Game Week 34. But Mac Allister is a differential with 5% ownership. 4 goals and 5 assists is very impressive, especially considering a lot of those have come recently. So the form is there, and the Argentine could deliver in double Game Week 34, but 7 shots inside the box is a very poor stat. Only 7 shots on target as well for the Argentine with 4 goals. That's a very good return in terms of efficiency, but in terms of sustainability, I'm not so sure, and that's 90 FPL points for the season. McAllister's a quality player. He's been one of the best midfielders in the Premier League this season, but as an FPL asset, I'd much rather go for Luis Diaz and also complete your Liverpool triple up with Salah and Virgil van Dijk. And there we have it, 10 players to buy, hold, sell and skip. And on screen you can see the most transferred out players. For the benefit of those listening on the podcast, Douglas Luiz is actually the most transferred out, with that suspension for 2 matches due to accumulating 10 yellow cards, and also the poor fixtures for Aston Villa. Bowen, Areola, Son and Trippier complete the top 5 most transferred out. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below about every single player I covered today, and if there are any other players you want covered in the comment section or in future Trans Tips videos and podcasts. Thank you very much for watching this video today. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Let's get this over 200 likes on YouTube, and we're also very close to getting 23k subscribers, and we're looking to get to that milestone very soon. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, RCM, and check all the other links in the description below for the Patreon, Championships Discord server, the FPL League, Draft Town, and Spotify and Amazon Music. Leave a 5-star review on those podcasts. I wish you all the best of luck for Gameweek 33 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.